Okay, cool. Excellent. All right, so we're here. And we should be live. That's great. What do you have to I think our folks did do that. Let me just go over and see what we look like here. Thanks. My video. Okay, fantastic. So I'm just looking here to make sure that we are live. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm just looking here to make sure that we are live. I'm going to share my screen here. I'm just looking here to make sure that we are live. Okay, fantastic. So we're screen sharing and we're on YouTube Live. I'm going to start my video here. Excellent. All right. So can everyone hear me? Yes. Fantastic. Awesome. So I am super excited. Look, I'm that jump in gal who always wants to be sure that we are covering what folks are thinking about now. I got up this morning and wanted to invite some really good friends in the industry, some folks that can help us really try to figure this out, so to speak. I have Tom Truong, who's a super duper broker agent, real estate coach, who thrives with bringing in folks to his organization, teaching them the ropes and having them be successful. So Tom is going to talk to us today about what's going on in his organization and how he is advising agents on the recent verdict and disruption. And then we have Darren Hall in the South, in Hotlanta area. He's with Exit Realty. And he's a great teacher and leader, coming from New York City, being in the music industry, pivoting into real estate, and really helping his team understand how to navigate this super chaotic market. So I'm going to just kind of start with the fact that the internet is buzzing with disinformation. And what we want to get at now, today, this morning, just for 30 minutes, this is the beginning of a very long conversation for the next couple of months. There's been a verdict, lawsuits filed in 2019. For the last 4 years, we've all been trying to figure out how this is going to affect our business. So, Tom, talk to us about what you've heard in the Exit organization about what the verdicts mean. You guys operate in the cloud, right? So, very different mindset than what maybe some of the traditional agents on right now may have been told. $5.2 billion. Right. Mm, right. Right. That's right. That's yeah. So, Darren, aside from the money, so there's one side that makes us all nervous is what's coming next. Once the homeowner uh, gets a wind of any of this, what would their questions be? The other side is how I get paid. So Tom just said, if I'm an independent, if I'm, we on this call happen to be a very diverse group, and so one of the things that we as Asian Americans, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans were trying to do is really push the independent realtors and the independent brokerages to really push this initiative of home ownership amongst diverse communities. If they don't have the data with, what happens? What are you hearing at exit organization? You guys are large. Mhm. True, true. So Darren and Tom, that's my question, right? I look at all this and I say, okay, this is a financial transaction, and that's what agents have to realize that there's no cookie cutter here. In a financial transaction, Darren, if the seller and the seller's agent are not willing to provide me as the buyer's agent with a commission, can I seek compensation from the other stakeholders, i.e., a lender, a title company? There's many people involved in getting this deal to the closing table. That's right. That's right. Of course. And this is right. And Tom, how about this? We have a very short memory. There will not always be a seller's market. I can see it, right? Our Olga system covers from California all the way to Maine. And while the Northeast is still enjoying a seller's market, that's where Tom's located. Darren can tell you the South is starting to see a turnover for buyer's market. If there's a buyer's market, which it's inevitable, everything is cyclical, right? Pandemic, we all were, you didn't have to even pick up the phone to sell a home. That will not last forever. Buyer agents will be super important at the table. And so the buyers, anyone who's a buyer's agent has to understand their worth. There's many ways to get a deal closed. And if a seller's agent or a large corporation like Keller Williams is sitting with 20 properties and you have a buyer, trust and believe you are not, this verdict is not going to stand between you and three people's paychecks, lenders, sellers, and brokers. Buyers to buyers, right? Yes. Yes. Tom, are you saying it's semantics? The money was always there from the buyer because they're the ones providing the financial transaction. Don't get caught up in the process. So pull back and think to yourself, this is a financial process. There are many stakeholders. Title companies get fees. Lenders get fees through the interest rates. There are many. You got to stop thinking about being a real estate agent who has a license and start thinking about being a business person in a transaction. This is what the industry is on. Now, let's move to this. There are associations that were able to benefit from the lack of licensed professionals thinking like business people. So one of the other things that's at risk is multiple listing services and the National Association of Real Estate Agents. We know we need them. I'm not by any point of imagination saying that we don't need those organizations. The data that they give along, right, has a lot of value. Um, but they also get lazy in the process. So is that when that listener took that listing, at least they collected from the seller, right? And how that was so um, hey, I don't think You know, uh, there's an echo. You guys hear an echo? Yeah, we've had a little bit of an audio issue, so let me just fix that quickly. But we're gonna. There's a bunch of folks on that cannot cannot hear Tom. Okay, so that should be a little better. I'm sorry for yeah. I think it's me, and I'm gonna go silent for a second. Okay, so yeah. So let yeah yeah. Okay, so I got um. So I just did a little volume issue here. What I'm going to do is, just in case we did not, the audio is not connecting between the two platforms, I'm going to hit record. What was really important, what we want to do is just kind of go back from the beginning. I'm going to record all of this and then we'll post it if there was an issue with the audio between the two platforms of Zoom and YouTube. So, Tom, I'd like you to go back and I can record the Zoom. I can record the Zoom. Okay. All right. All right. So we had some good points. We were going to do this from 9 to 9:30. If you guys don't mind, if we can do just till at 10 o'clock. Let's just kind of go over. We good? You got a lot of good folks that want to hear what you guys have to say. So my apologies. We'll get it right. We got recordings going, YouTube. At the end of the day, people will be able to hear what you say, whether it's delayed or in real time. Okay, so Tom, we started this conversation with you laying out exactly what happened legally. If you could describe that again to everyone so everyone's clear, that would be great.
Over $5 billion has been awarded. Here's the thing, though, is that they have to now go through and litigate over the next couple of years to really see whether they have to pay out those damages. This lawsuit can go on for a bit longer. Okay, my speculation on all of this, Lisa, is that the larger firms can then now go internal with their listings because these large companies have sufficient size, have sufficient internal data that they might the multiple listing services or NAR services anymore. Some of them have already publicly said that their associate agents, their brokers, their agents don't have to be members of NAR anymore. And so this has already been happening with companies like CBRE. They've already had their own internal databases. Compass has their internal databases already. EXP, we have our own internal database already for the residential and commercial, right? So what I'm saying is this would hurt the independents, the smaller independents, which no longer have access to this data because it's not being inputted anymore. And these MLSs are going to start getting depleted with inventory. I also see a major damage for many multicultural real estate firms and independents who are of smaller size, who might not be able to compete in the big arena. At the end of the day, though, it's a matter of compensation. That's what this lawsuit is about. And for most licensed real estate professionals around the country, we know about this thing called exclusive buyer agency agreements. We're supposed to, in general terms, at the first meeting, share with our buyers who we are representing in the deal. And we're all supposed to disclose our representation. By default, real estate agents representing the seller's best interest, unless buyers sign, at least in Massachusetts, an exclusive buyer agency agreement and or a mandatory disclosure saying in that one transaction who is the agent representing, right? So from my perspective, Lisa, I think this is good for the industry. A lot of consumer public says it's bad. No, it's actually good because real estate agents need to, and they should have disclosed their representation right from the get-go. This lawsuit did not set any precedents in terms of representation. Buyers agents just got a little bit lazy in terms of proving their worth to show them that hey, I'm going to represent your best interest. And if the seller doesn't pay my commission, you will pay my commission. That's all this conversation is about. And at the end of the day, the buyers practically have always paid for the commissions. It just wasn't disclosed because at a closing, who comes to the table with the money to close the transaction?
Right. So we had a great conversation about risk. So one of the risks that you highlighted, unfortunately, a lot of folks listening not here, was the risk of sellers agents, large brokerages using their internal network versus the MLS, which we know that's another thing that is out there that has not been decided on. So, Darren, you're part of a large organization at Exit EXP, Tom organizations EXP. Talk to us about this, fear that if I'm with an independent agency, or maybe I'm a new agent and I don't have the bandwidth in this new organization to be able to get the data I need internally to get, the listings that I need to make a living, right? So there's a risk here that, yes, it's going to be good in the long term, but you got to think like a business owner. You got to navigate and figure out what's right for you and not wait for somebody to tell you what to do. But Darren, you brought up, the issue of if that happens, if there's a little bit of congregating of listings internally to navigate this compliance, you had a thought about that.
Yeah. I mean, once again, we can speculate in many ways, right? But I think if it went in that direction, once again, the word that's dominated this entire conversation in this lawsuit is what? Antitrust, right? So there will be, once again, another massive class action lawsuit to break up what? because now the argument is they're creating monopolies. Large companies are creating monopolies that are smaller companies at a disadvantage, right? And that is something from an antitrust perspective that the US government has never liked or embraced. We've seen it before in past history with telephone companies, and we will see it again. Should that happen, and you have certain large companies that are controlling data and pushing the little guys around or out of the market. So that's another form of antitrust where lawsuits will be filed. Certainly, I would think that championing those lawsuits certainly would be the minority organizations such as NARAB, ARIA, all of them pretty much, because those house a lot of independent brokerages. And so we will, when and if that time comes, I think we will definitely see that fight. And I know for certain NARAB will probably be front and center in that one.
So part of the settlement with Anywhere Brands and Remax was that they did not have to no longer require their agents to be a member of NAR or to participate in the MLS. Tom, can you talk to us about what Exit is doing on that front? I also know that, is it Redfin also removed their agents or no longer require their agents to be part of NAR?
Yeah, so at EXP, we are on the EXP Realty side, residential side. We are still we continue to support the National Association of Realtors. We support the multiple listing services. We think it's a very valuable services that both both of those agencies provide. Right, it's very necessary for us to do our job. In addition to that, we are building out our own internal database. So we're giving our agents the best of all worlds, okay? On the commercial side, we've never required them to be a realtor nor belong to NMS because the commercial world, it's totally different. We are just continuing to train, to coach, to mentor, to educate our professionals do the same with their clientele. It's a matter of communication and teaching them and sharing the representation. That's where it boils down to clear, transparent communication on representation and who's paying who.
One of the messages I want to say to the agents that are listening today, what is very clear is that this is an awakening moment. And if you had leaned on your brokerage or the National Association of Realtors, or even your local Realtors Association, that the time's up. And if every one of these brokerages are deciding to create their own network, we actually thought about something with the old system, which was a matchmaking and referral system. So if the trend moving forward will be that these organizations at the brokerage level have to be stronger. Right now, Tom, a lot of brokerages, that does not exist. So for you and Darren, who are very forward thinking, your brokerages are going to win because agents will seek the leadership that they need that will sort of not take the place of NAR, but be more important than, I think, a local real association and a multiple listing. So it's another wake-up call for brokers who tend to send their folks over to the local Realtors Association or board for training and development.
Yeah. I mean, a lot. We've had ongoing conversations with smaller independents and smaller teams and stuff already for years on end now. But since this lawsuit came down and the verdict came down, our phones are lighting up a lot more than before. In addition to everything that we were doing already, this also adds fuel to the fire. And they're looking to grow. They're looking to thrive, and they need the tools. They might not have the economies of scale to compete in large arena. And here our platform makes it so easy for them to partner with us without giving up their branding, without giving up their identity, and continuing to build their brokerage within our platform. So,
you mentioned identity. We preach a lot in this organic lead generation world that I live in about playing to your strengths. And one of the things that the National Association of Hispanic Realtors in their announcement mentioned how this may affect home ownership, home buyers of color, in diverse ethnic backgrounds. We know that there's between ARIA, NAREB, the Gay Alliance of Realtors. We know that those specialties have become even more popular today as our society looks to align themselves with not only people like them, but have their values. If some of these businesses were independents, that did not feel that they were being supported by some of the larger franchises, how do you think they'll navigate this? Will this actually help because the buyers will more be aligned? It's another reason to work with a real estate agent, or do you think that they may get lost? And at the end of the day, we're about home ownership, right? All of us on this call, and each of you that are licensed real estate agents, you took an oath to help people become homeowners and help those who want to sell their house. You talk about from ARIA, and then I know, Darren, you're from NAREB. You're a member of those. Have any of those organizations made any announcements about how they want the agents affiliated with these associations to navigate it?
No, not officially. And yet, as NAREB, at NAREB, I think everyone is kind of evaluating. The word that I've kind of gotten, which has been my personal thing as well, is a non-panic, measured response and moving forward. As far as what you said about whether it'll affect minority homeowners, the question is, I think if you're a realtor and you're passionate, especially as we've been passionate about our community and actually increasing our home ownership numbers, I don't believe it affects it that much. I think you're still going to go out, you're still going to educate and motivate people and bring them along. As far as this lawsuit has been about transparency and money, certainly in my state, our buyer representation has always been very clear, from our seller representation. There's been transparency there, both with how we've trained agents and even how our contracts are structured in our state. We've always operated with an exclusive buyer agent. We've always operated with an exclusive seller agent agreement. And at my brokerage, it's impossible for an agent to even get paperwork is in representative of those things. So that's never been a problem. We're still passionate about turning people into homeowners, and I think that will continue. And that's NAREB's belief as well.
Yeah, I think there's a very large opportunity for NAREB, ARIA, the Alliance, to really deliver training, support, guidance to all of its members, and especially those smaller independents who might not have the resources. Well, they do. If they join NAREB, ARIA, the Alliance, and they come together as one organization, well, together they are stronger, right? So I see a very great opportunity for these multicultural nonprofit organizations to continue to further serve their communities, the communities of memberships, as well as their buyers and sellers there, right? Why not? I mean, this is an opportune time for all these organizations to step up and deliver what maybe National Association of Realtors and the MLSs have been missing all along, because we do understand how our cultures operate. Most people do want to work with people who look like them, talk like them, have their own belief systems and stuff, right? So these organizations can only get stronger if they put into this and this into something even more positive more reasons for someone to join these organizations.
Absolutely. Well said, Tom.
That's great. And that's great to hear, because I think, we all want home ownership to be accessible to everyone. So we see a lot of positives in what's happening if you just have to be awake and understand what your value is to your community. Earlier, we talked about how people get paid, and that seems to be the anxiety that's happening. I love this industry. I've done well in this industry. I want to keep being a realtor, a real estate agent, but I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to earn a living. So we had a really a robust conversation earlier that I want to get back to, which is, this is a financial transaction. It happens to be one of the largest for those involved. But Tom, you mentioned a house is for sale, but it is not sold until there's a buyer that comes with money. And as a buyer's agent, you're bringing that last piece. The lender doesn't get his cut. The title guy doesn't get his cut. The homeowner and the agent and the brokers, no one gets paid until someone says, I have a legitimate, qualified financial obligation to purchase this house.
I think that buyer agency will continue to thrive, especially for the professional who learns how to disclose representation and to deliver their worth to the buyers. Are we still here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I saw the screen change. You've heard of the last mile, right? At Amazon, the biggest business is getting to the last mile and how to get that product onto your front door. In real estate, it's the buyer agents who deliver that last mile service. The buyer's agent, the neighborhoods aren't being serviced. You could have a listing and a buyer's coming from out of town. That listing agent does not know who the buyer is, who are moving here, right? So the buyers have always paid for the commission, right? We just have to share with the buyer. Hey, if we look at this house and this house does not fit your needs, guess what? I'm going to earn my keep, and I'm going to knock on doors and farm the neighborhood and find the one seller who might not have the house listed publicly right now, that might be thinking about selling, but just doesn't want the trouble of having hundreds and thousands of people trample through their beautiful living room and their floors and their bedrooms. I'm going to go door knocking, and that's why you're going to pay me for my buyer's agency commission, because ultimately you've always paid. You've always come to the table with the commission that gets split among both buyer and listing agent.
The question I had earlier is, there are many stakeholders. I'm not a real estate agent. I'm not licensed, but I know business, right? And so there's stakeholders here: title, lender, brokers, agents on sell side, on buy side. Everyone, no one gets paid until that buyer closes on that deal. So Darren, one of the things I said to you is, if there is any issue where a seller, a homeowner says, I saw the lawsuit, I saw the verdict, I'm not giving up anything. Are there other stakeholders in this transaction that will be able to compensate the buyer?
Listen, I don't think that's a conversation. At least it certainly wouldn't be with me. Representation is representation. Here's the bottom line. The representation on either side, I don't believe, is going anywhere. The question is how it's going to be compensated, right? That's like saying you're going to run a case with only a prosecutor, right, but no representation on the defense side. When I deal with people, representation has been my entire life. Okay, from when I got out of college as a private banker, to my time in the music industry, to as a real estate agent. When I connect with a potential client, I know what value that I bring, right? And I know sometimes in our business, the egos kind of get a little whatever. Listing agents feel like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You are when there's not a lot of inventory. But guess what? You don't get a closing unless I solve these problems on the buyer side, right? And when you start calling me, I know my value already, but I know it even more when we get to that closing date and you're sweating me trying to figure out if we're going to close, and you have no idea the amount of issues and problems that me and this loan officer has had to solve in order to get us there. So no buyer that I would ever interview would say, well, I heard about the lawsuit and I'm not paying you. That's the end of conversation. Have a good day, because most of the people I've closed in my career would not have a house. And they will probably tell you the same thing. If Darren came through for me in this way, right? So, buying a house, I tell people, it's not like you're not going to the store and picking up a gallon of milk. It's one of the largest, most important things that you're going to do. Even if you identify a home that you like, even if your finances are together, it's still one of the most difficult process to navigate. And you need an expert on your side. So in that, there is value. Each one of us that runs team or knows brokerages, if we're doing our job, then the agents that are out there are worth every penny they're getting, because guess what? We have trained them up to a certain standard. And a lot of times we've trained them in our own image in terms of how we've been taught, the mass amounts of education that we take on along the way. So most real estate agents, I know the water has kind of been muddy the last couple of years because people have heard, oh, you make, they're seeing stuff on social media and everybody went to get a license. And yeah, some people skated through with deals. But I would say for the vast majority of agents that I've come across at EXP, whether they're Exit, whether they were staunch professionals that were educated, knew what they were doing, and are worth every penny that they make. So,
and that's what you have to get out there. That's what you have to.
Absolutely.
If you're bent over, worried about what has happened, disruption, where it's going, then you never were cut out to be a business owner.
Not at all. Not at all.
Every industry has disruption.
Every single one. And guess what? There will be more disruptions.
Yes, there will.
Okay, this pass. This too shall pass, and it will be something else. This is just the nature of being a business person in America and in the world today. We make adjustments, we pivot, we adapt, and we drive on.
Look, this has been great conversation. I want to continue to do these. Obviously, we'll work out the YouTube issues. I thank everyone for being on with us. Christina Ditto has been keeping us updated on the audio. This is a recording. We'll put this up everywhere. But I think what I'd like to do is not only have Tom Trong back from EXP. He's a real estate coach, broker. Darren Hall owns a brokerage in Atlanta. Not only have these guys back, but I think I'd love to have some lenders on. So if you are a lender, hit me up. And I'd love to have your take on this. Also, any legal professionals. Let's get some of the legal folks. Things that is most anxiety driven is. So you guys gave us a great recap of what we know today. The unknown, right, causes all kinds of panic. And so we want to get at what's coming up down the road. And is it really something we should be nervous about? What will things look like? What will the real estate industry look like in 2030? And so
sounds good.
Right?
Well, Lisa, thank you for holding this quick conversation. Darren Hall, I'm going to reach out to you just to say hi offline, man. I'd love to learn more about you.
Yes, sir. I would love it.
I would love it. All right. Look, we're awake. We're now woke. Let's get at it. Let's make some deals today and keep our heads up.
Yes, let's do it. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Love it.
Have a great day, guys. Have a winning day.
Bye-bye.